The city of Aurora Prime gleamed under the twin suns, its crystalline towers stretching like fingers toward the sky. Streets below were alive with hums of vehicles gliding silently, and the soft glow of holographic advertisements danced on the glass facades. Despite the beauty, there was tension in the air, a tension that had nothing to do with the usual political bustle of the city. The tension came from the palace, where the aging Queen Saphira, ruler of Aurora Prime, was about to make a decision that would change the course of many lives. In the grand hall of the palace, sunlight streamed through towering windows, scattering rainbows across the polished floor. The hall was filled with advisors, nobles, and emissaries from various parts of the human empire. At the center of it all, Queen Saphira sat on her throne, regal and calm, though her eyes carried the weight of years. The halls of Aurora Prime had always been a place of careful diplomacy, but today everyone felt something different, something electric like the moment before a storm. "Bring him in," the Queen said, her voice calm but firm. Her attendants immediately obeyed, and the heavy doors at the far end of the hall slowly opened. A man stepped in, tall, lean, and steady, his boots making no sound on the polished floor. He was not dressed like the nobility, but his posture and confidence made it clear he was no ordinary outsider. This was him, the one the Queen had chosen. "Welcome," Queen Saphira said, her eyes studying him carefully. "I have called you here for a reason that may surprise you." Lyra's eyes, sharp and curious, flicked to him, assessing every detail. She was not like her mother in appearance alone. While Saphira's presence demanded obedience, Lyra's presence demanded attention. She had always been brilliant, fearless, and stubborn in ways that often frustrated the court. "My daughter is the future of Aurora Prime," the Queen began, her voice echoing through the hall. "And yet the future is fragile. Alliances must be secured and stability must be ensured. This is why, after much thought, I have made a decree." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. "Princess Lyra will marry you." Her eyes widened, not with fear, but with disbelief and a flicker of anger. "You cannot be serious," Lyra said, her voice controlled but sharp. "You want to force me into a marriage with someone I barely know. This union is meant to strengthen our empire, secure the future, and ensure that those who would threaten us think twice before challenging humanity. The world beyond our cities is changing. Threats emerge from corners unseen. I have lived long enough to see what happens when decisions are delayed. You will see too in time." But he had never imagined that he would be called into a situation such as this, thrust into the heart of a royal decree. "I am honored by the trust you place in me, Your Majesty," he said carefully, "but I cannot, in good conscience, accept a marriage that the princess herself does not agree to." Queen Saphira's eyes flicked to her daughter. "Lyra," she said softly, "this is not just about you or him. It is about the safety of Aurora Prime, about the people who rely on our decisions. Your life will be long and you will have many choices in time, but this is for now." But being treated like a pawn, even by her own mother, stung more than she expected. And yet she could not ignore the logic of her mother's words entirely. There was a reasoning beneath the decree, even if it felt cruel. She finally turned her gaze to the man. "If this is to happen," she said, her voice steady, "then know this, I will not be a passive participant. You will have to prove that you are worthy, not of me, but of the trust that has been placed in both of us. If you fail, the consequences will be yours to bear. Only through these will true compatibility and trust be tested. And remember, the eyes of the Empire are upon you both." Many lessons would be learned here, many tests would begin. Lyra looked at him, her expression unreadable. "I hope you are ready," she said. "I am," he replied. "I have faced dangers far beyond court politics. I have solved problems that seemed impossible. I will do whatever it takes to earn your trust." Their first test came sooner than expected. News arrived that a section of the city's energy grid had malfunctioned, threatening entire districts with blackouts. The Queen's advisors were stumped, unable to identify the cause. Without hesitation, the man stepped forward. Using his engineering expertise, he analyzed the system, tracing the problem to a minor but critical flaw in the AI that managed energy distribution. With Lyra assisting, his solution was implemented quickly. Lights returned to the city, and the people below cheered, unaware of the lives that had been potentially saved. Lyra's eyes widened. "You actually did it," she said, genuine surprise in her voice. "I thought the advisors would spend weeks debating before they even tried anything." Perhaps her mother had been right in seeing potential in him. Days passed, and more challenges came. From navigating complex diplomatic negotiations to testing survival skills in the harsh outer sectors of Aurora Prime, the man and Lyra faced each obstacle together. Each mission built not only trust, but an understanding of each other's strengths. Lyra discovered that his courage was matched by intelligence, that his respect for life and knowledge made him different from anyone she had ever met. At the same time, political whispers grew. Some nobles still opposed the union, claiming it was a mistake. But time and again, the man's actions proved them wrong. When he repaired a failing transportation hub critical to supply lines, or when he devised a plan to counter a potential espionage attempt, even the most skeptical advisors could not deny his capability. One evening, as the twin suns set, casting amber light over the city, Lyra and the man stood on a balcony overlooking the palace grounds. The hum of the city below felt distant, almost peaceful. "You've exceeded my expectations," Lyra said quietly. "I have only begun," he replied, a gentle confidence in his tone. "There will be more tests, more challenges, but I am ready." Perhaps this human, this outsider, was not just capable of surviving in her world, but of changing it. And far above them, the queen watched from her chamber, her eyes serene but sharp. The first step had been taken, but the true test, the test of the empire, of loyalty, and of humanity's ingenuity, was only just beginning. The man had been thrown into a world of politics, power, and expectation. But in his heart, he knew one thing: humans were never truly powerless. And as he faced the unknown, he felt a quiet determination grow. No matter the obstacles, no matter the trials, he would rise to meet them, not just for himself, but for Lyra, for the Queen, and for all of Aurora Prime. The stage was set. The decree had been made. And the story of trust, courage, and the brilliance of humanity was about to unfold. The city of Aurora Prime never truly slept. Even in the quiet hours, the hum of energy grids, the glint of hover vehicles, and the distant chatter of automated drones reminded everyone that life in the Empire moved forward relentlessly. For Princess Lyra and the man who had been thrust into her world, the pace had only grown faster. The Queen's decree was not a single event. It was the beginning of a series of tests, missions, and challenges designed to see whether he could truly earn trust and prove his worth. Lyra had made it clear. This was not about marriage in the traditional sense. It was about capability, judgment, and the ability to navigate a world that demanded both intelligence and courage. And in the past few days, the man had already shown himself to be extraordinary. But Lyra was far from convinced. She needed to see more to test him further. Their first assignment together had been relatively straightforward, fixing a failing energy grid. The second would not be so simple. A message arrived from the outer industrial sectors. A series of automated factories had gone offline. Supplies critical to Aurora Prime's food production were at risk. The Queen's advisors debated endlessly, but Lyra turned to the man. "We need to go ourselves," she said, her voice firm. "If we wait for committees and permits, it will be too late." "Agreed, tell me what we know." "Either way, if we don't act fast, thousands of people could go without food." He was not a noble, he was not trained in court intrigue, but he had something more valuable: the ability to see problems clearly and act decisively. The journey to the outer sectors was tense. Automated defense drones patrolled the skies, and abandoned transport vehicles blocked some of the main roads. As they arrived, Lyra could see the scale of the problem. Smoke rose from a factory in the distance, and robotic arms had stopped moving mid-task. The hum of machinery had ceased. "This is worse than I thought," Lyra said. "We'll need to split up to investigate faster. We'll stay in contact via comlink." It was precise, deliberate, but not beyond repair. She transmitted the coordinates and details to him. Meanwhile, in the southern complex, the man encountered something far more dangerous. One of the factories had an automated security system that had malfunctioned, locking down the area. Robots designed to protect the premises had mistaken the factory workers for intruders. He had only moments to act before someone could be injured. He moved swiftly, using a combination of engineering knowledge and quick thinking. He reprogrammed the security drones' basic directives, overriding their malfunction without triggering a full system shutdown. The drones powered down safely, leaving the workers unharmed. Lyra's voice came through the comlink. "Are you okay?" Where many might have panicked, he analyzed, prioritized, and acted. After several hours, the factories were fully operational again. Machines hummed back to life, workers returned to their tasks, and the threat of food shortages was removed. The man and Lyra returned to the hovercraft, exhausted but victorious. "You did well," Lyra said, her tone softening slightly. "I didn't think anyone outside this court could handle something like this so efficiently." This one carried urgency unlike anything they had encountered so far. An unknown fleet of ships had been detected on the edge of Aurora Prime's atmosphere. Initial scans suggested they were not human. They emitted energy signatures unfamiliar to any known technology in the Empire. The Queen called an immediate council meeting. Advisors speculated, panic began to spread, and fear flickered in the eyes of even the most seasoned officials. Lyra looked to the man. "What do you think?" she asked quietly, away from the court. "They're advanced, yes," he said, scanning the data on his handheld device. "But they're not invincible. We just need to understand their weaknesses. You've never faced aliens before. Together, find a way to protect Aurora Prime." They studied the alien energy signatures, observed patterns in the ship's movement, and devised simulations to predict possible attacks. Most of the court dismissed their methods as reckless, but results spoke louder than words. The simulations revealed vulnerabilities in the alien ships, energy shields, and navigation protocols. Lyra could not help but feel respect. "You really do think differently," she said one evening as they pored over the data in the palace lab. "Most people here only follow orders or debate endlessly. You actually look for solutions." "I don't claim to be perfect, but I refuse to be limited by fear or tradition." Drones from the ships entered Aurora Prime's airspace, scanning the city with bright pulses of light. Civilians panicked, and the palace went into emergency protocols. Lyra and the man coordinated the city's defense systems, rerouting energy, activating shields, and predicting the drones' movements. At one point, a drone slipped past the defenses, heading toward a residential district. Without hesitation, the man took control of a defensive drone and intercepted it, guiding it away from civilians and disabling it. Lyra watched, impressed. It was precise, careful, and daring all at once. When the immediate threat passed, Lyra turned to him. "You didn't hesitate," she said. "Most would have waited for orders." People's lives mattered more than protocol. The city lights flickered on, casting long reflections on the crystal towers. Lyra and the man stood together, overlooking the city they had just helped protect. "You're not like anyone I've met before," Lyra said quietly. "And you're not like anyone I've met either," he replied with a faint smile. For a moment there was silence, only the soft hum of the city below. Then Lyra spoke again, more thoughtfully this time. "If we are going to face what's coming, I need to know I can trust you completely." She was beginning to understand something important. This was more than a test of marriage, more than a courtly challenge. This was a test of human ingenuity, courage, and determination, and in the man standing beside her, she saw those qualities embodied. The Queen watched silently from her chamber, knowing that the first trials were only the beginning. If her daughter and the man succeeded, Aurora Prime would not only be safe but stronger than ever before. If they failed, the consequences could be disastrous. But for now, in the quiet of the night, the city stood intact, and the first steps of a remarkable partnership had been taken. Together, Lyra and the man were ready to face whatever challenges awaited, trusting in each other, and in the power of humanity to rise when it mattered most. The days that followed the first encounter with the alien drones were tense. Aurora Prime was alive with activity, but there was a quiet fear beneath the hum of the city. Civilians whispered about the strange ships hovering at the edge of the atmosphere, while the palace was a whirlwind of strategy meetings, security drills, and contingency planning. Princess Lyra and the man were at the center of it all, coordinating defenses, analyzing alien technology, and preparing for whatever would come next. Neither of them slept well. At night, the twin suns disappeared behind the horizon, leaving the city bathed in soft moonlight. But the glow of the palace lights and distant hovercraft patrolled the skies reminded them that danger could arrive at any moment. Lyra stood at a balcony overlooking the city, her hair catching the gentle breeze, when the man joined her. "They haven't made another move yet," he said quietly. "But we can't assume they won't." His calm confidence, even in the face of an unknown alien threat, was reassuring. She had seen many brilliant minds in the palace, but few had the ability to think clearly while under pressure. He did not panic. He did not overthink. He acted. The following morning, a new alert came through the palace systems. A large alien reconnaissance ship had entered Aurora Prime's orbit. Unlike the smaller drones, this ship was massive, with a hull that shimmered like liquid metal and emitted energy pulses unlike anything the humans had ever recorded. The entire city went on high alert, and the palace was filled with advisors shouting conflicting instructions. Lyra turned to the man. "We need a plan, and we need it fast. If that ship attacks, it could destroy entire districts. What do you suggest? If it fails..." Lyra coordinated with palace engineers, redirecting energy flows to create decoy signals that would confuse the alien sensors. Meanwhile, the man worked on hacking into the smaller drones that accompanied the ship, reprogramming them to interfere with the main vessel's communications and targeting systems. The work was precise, complicated, and dangerous. One mistake could alert the aliens or trigger a catastrophic malfunction. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the soft hum of machines and the occasional instruction. Finally, everything was in place. Lyra and the man exchanged a look. It was time. The alien ship descended slightly into the upper atmosphere, scanning the city below. For a moment, it seemed as if the plan might fail. The energy pulses from the ship were stronger than expected, and the decoy signals barely registered on its sensors. "Now," the man whispered. Lyra activated the final sequence. Energy from the city grid surged into the decoy emitters, creating false signals that mimicked valuable resource deposits. Simultaneously, the reprogrammed drones began malfunctioning, flying erratically and emitting bursts of energy that interfered with the alien ship systems. The effect was immediate. The alien vessel's shields flickered as it tried to process the conflicting information. Its drones scattered, and its targeting systems began to fail. The city's defenses, guided by Lyra's tactical commands, took advantage of the confusion to activate pulse cannons and defensive shields, forcing the ship to retreat temporarily. The palace erupted in cautious relief. Advisors cheered, though many could not fully understand the strategy that had saved them. Lyra turned to the man, her eyes wide with admiration. "You did it," she said. "I wasn't sure at first, but you really did it." He was more than just a capable engineer or problem solver. He was a human who understood the importance of adaptability, courage, and quick thinking under pressure. The days that followed were filled with preparation and reconnaissance. The alien fleet did not attack immediately, but smaller scouting ships continued to appear, testing the city's defenses and probing for weaknesses. Lyra and the man worked tirelessly, analyzing patterns, running simulations, and preparing countermeasures. Each encounter strengthened their trust in one another, and each success reminded them of the unique qualities that humanity could offer even in the face of advanced technology. At night, when the city lights cast long reflections across the crystal towers, Lyra often found herself thinking about the man. He had come from outside the palace, an outsider with no title or influence, yet he had already proven himself invaluable. She had expected arrogance or perhaps fear, but instead she found humility, courage, and intelligence. One evening, as they monitored the city from a high observation deck, the man spoke quietly. "Lyra, you have to understand something. Humans are not the strongest, not the fastest, and not the most powerful species in the galaxy. But we survive because we adapt, because we work together, because we never give up. That's why we can face threats like this and still find a way forward." A series of larger ships entered the upper atmosphere, testing Aurora Prime's defenses in a coordinated pattern. The city's pulse cannons fired, energy shields flared, and emergency protocols were activated. For the first time, it was clear that this was not a simple reconnaissance mission. The aliens were preparing for something bigger. Lyra and the man acted quickly. They adapted their previous strategy, using decoy signals, energy redirection, and drone interference once again. But this time, the aliens responded faster, adjusting their movements and deploying more advanced drones. The battle was intense, a test of both strategy and reflexes. At one point, a massive alien drone broke through the city's defenses, heading straight for a civilian sector. Lyra's voice rang through the comlink. "You take the drone, I'll handle the shields." Lyra watched, her admiration growing. "You're incredible," she said, almost in awe. "I'm not the only one," he replied. "We did this together." The Queen called another council meeting, praising Lyra and the man for their quick thinking and effective strategies. The court, once skeptical, now viewed him with a mixture of respect and caution. Lyra realized that the man had changed her perspective on the world. She had always believed in human ingenuity, but seeing it in action, seeing the courage, quick thinking, and adaptability of someone who was not bound by tradition, made her understand that humans could face challenges no matter how advanced or dangerous. That night, as the city quieted and the twin suns began to rise again, Lyra and the man stood on the palace balcony, looking out over Aurora Prime. "You know," Lyra said softly, "I didn't believe it at first. I thought the Queen's decree was just politics, but now I see why she chose you. We survive, we adapt, and we rise to challenges. That's what your mother saw, I think. Not just one person, but the potential of everyone. Whatever the alien fleet planned next, she knew they would face it together, and that humanity, with all its flaws and strengths, would not be easily defeated." And far above, the Queen watched from her chamber, her eyes thoughtful. The first true test of her daughter and the man had passed, and she knew that even greater challenges were coming. But for now, she allowed herself a rare smile. Aurora Prime had survived, and humans had once again proven that their ingenuity, courage, and determination could overcome the unknown. The battle was far from over, but Lyra and the man were ready. The future of the city, the empire, and humanity itself rested in their hands, and together they would face whatever came next. The twin suns of Aurora Prime rose over the city, painting the crystalline towers with golden light. But the peace was only a fragile illusion. Intelligence reports had confirmed that the alien fleet was preparing for a full-scale assault. Unlike their previous probes, this attack would be coordinated, massive, and relentless. Panic rippled through the palace and the city, yet Lyra and the man remained calm. They had faced challenges before, but this was unlike anything either had encountered. In the war room of the palace, holographic displays showed dozens of alien vessels approaching from multiple angles. The council buzzed with conflicting advice, but Lyra and the man had already begun planning. "They're using coordinated flight patterns," Lyra said, pointing at the display. "They'll try to divide the city's defenses and hit us from all sides. If we focus on their timing and exploit weaknesses in their formations, we can neutralize key vessels before they reach critical zones. It won't be easy, and it won't be without risk, but it's the best chance we have." Aurora Prime's pulse cannons were readied, energy shields strengthened, and every drone, ship, and automated defense system was brought online. Lyra and the man moved through the palace like shadows, issuing instructions, checking systems, and adjusting strategies as the alien fleet drew closer. When the first ships entered the upper atmosphere, alarms blared across the city. The alien vessels were enormous, their hulls shimmering with energy that distorted light and made them almost invisible at certain angles. Smaller drones swarmed ahead, testing defenses and creating confusion. Lyra's voice rang through the comlink. "Remember your positions, trust the system, but stay adaptable. We can't rely on automation alone." He maneuvered a squad of drones to intercept, using energy pulses to disable the enemy without harming the buildings or people below. Lyra coordinated the city shields, activating defensive barriers and redirecting energy to reinforce weak points. Every action had to be precise. One misstep could cost lives. The alien drones were fast, intelligent, and relentless, but human ingenuity proved to be just as sharp. Meanwhile, the larger alien ships moved into strategic positions, aiming for critical infrastructure, energy hubs, transportation networks, and the palace itself. Lyra analyzed their movements and realized the aliens were following predictable patterns in their energy pulses. "Listen carefully," she said to the man over the comm link. "They're repeating the same sequence every 20 seconds. If we time our strikes with that rhythm, we can exploit their shields and disable them." The drones surged forward in perfect coordination, striking the alien shields at the exact moment of vulnerability. One by one, several vessels faltered, their energy pulsations flickering. The council gasped. Even the most seasoned generals had never seen such precision. "How is this possible?" one advisor whispered. Lyra smiled faintly, though her focus never wavered. "Humans are clever when we have to be," she replied. The battle escalated. The alien ships responded, sending a massive pulse wave toward the city. Buildings shook, and energy shields strained under the force. Lyra and the man worked together, calculating the optimal redistribution of power to reinforce vulnerable zones while keeping critical systems online. In the chaos, a massive alien assault drone broke through the defenses, heading straight for the palace. Lyra's pulse quickened. "We can't let it reach the palace," she said. "I'll take one route, you take another. We converge and trap it." The alien drone was fast and heavily armored, but the man's quick calculations allowed him to predict its path. Lyra coordinated a simultaneous strike from another angle, creating a trap. The drone was caught, energy beams locked it in place, and with a final calculated strike it was disabled. The victory was short-lived. The alien fleet had more ships, each more advanced than the last. They targeted multiple districts simultaneously, forcing Aurora Prime's defenses to stretch thin. The man and Lyra moved from command center to command center, issuing instructions, analyzing real-time data, and improvising strategies. At one point, the alien fleet targeted the city's energy core. A direct hit could destroy the entire metropolis. Lyra and the man realized there was only one way to prevent catastrophe. They had to lure the fleet away from the core using a decoy. "I'll manage the decoy," he said. "You coordinate the city defenses. You just make sure the city survives." Lyra's quick adjustments ensured that the real core remained safe, the shields absorbing minor attacks while the main defenses neutralized smaller drones. The strategy worked. The decoy held the aliens, attention long enough for Aurora Prime's defenses to regain stability. Buildings that had been damaged were reinforced, citizens were guided to safety, and the pulse cannons struck with renewed precision. As the battle raged on, Lyra observed the man's calm determination. He was everywhere at once, analyzing, adjusting, and acting. She realized that this was more than skill, it was instinct, courage, and human ingenuity combined. Even against technologically superior enemies, humans could think, adapt, and overcome. Hours passed, and the alien fleet, recognizing that they could not easily break the city's defenses, began a retreat. The remaining drones scattered, their energy pulses weakening. Aurora Prime had survived, battered but intact. The council erupted into applause, but Lyra barely noticed. She was already looking at the man, her respect and admiration growing. "You did it," she said quietly. "You saved the city." This was what her mother had seen when she issued the decree, not just one person, but the potential of humans to rise to challenges that seemed impossible. The queen watched the city from her chamber, her eyes calm but calculating. Aurora Prime had survived its greatest threat yet, but she knew this was only the beginning. The alien fleet would return, and the challenges ahead would be even greater. Yet for the first time in many years, she allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. Her daughter and the man had proven themselves capable of extraordinary things. As the city recovered, Lyra and the man stood together on the palace balcony, overlooking Aurora Prime. The streets were quiet now, but the memory of battle lingered. Civilians would rebuild, repairs would be made, and life would continue. But the bond between Lyra and the man had grown stronger, forged in the fire of strategy, courage, and trust. "You were amazing today," Lyra said softly. "I only did what needed to be done," he replied. "Humans are good at surviving. We adapt, we learn, and we act. That's why we're still here." The city was safe for now. The battle had tested their courage, their intelligence, and their ability to work together. And it had shown, more clearly than ever, that humanity, adaptable, clever, and fearless, could face threats that even the most advanced technologies could not anticipate. The Queen's words echoed in Lyra's mind. Freedom without foresight was dangerous, but action without hesitation could change the course of history. And standing beside the man, she realized that they had both acted with foresight, courage, and humanity. Together, they had proven that the future of Aurora Prime, and perhaps humanity itself, was in capable hands. The alien fleet had retreated, but the war was far from over. Aurora Prime would rebuild, defenses would strengthen, and strategies would evolve. Yet Lyra felt a new confidence. She knew that with the man by her side, with human ingenuity leading the way, they could face whatever challenges awaited. The city sparkled under the setting suns, and for the first time in many weeks, Lyra allowed herself to feel hope. Humans had survived, humans had adapted, and humans had shown that courage, intelligence, and determination could overcome even the greatest odds. And somewhere in the stars, the alien fleet watched, aware now that Aurora Prime was not just another city. They were facing a civilization capable of extraordinary resilience, and a pair of humans who would not be defeated. Aurora Prime slowly returned to life after the great battle. The damage left by the alien assault was visible, but so was the strength of humanity. Broken towers were repaired by construction drones and human crews working side by side. Energy lines were restored, transport systems restarted. Everywhere, people helped one another without waiting for orders. The city did not feel defeated. It felt proud. Princess Lyra watched the recovery from a high balcony of the palace. The air was calm, the twin suns warm against her face. For the first time since the alien fleet had appeared, she felt something close to peace. Behind her, the man stood quietly, looking out over the city he had helped save. "They're rebuilding faster than expected," Lyra said. He nodded. "Humans don't stop just because things break. We fix what we can and keep moving forward. Not just the battle, but how people see you and how I see you." The alien fleet had retreated fully from the system. Long-range scanners confirmed it. For the first time in many years, the Queen felt that the future of Aurora Prime was secure. She summoned her advisors and then requested Lyra and the man to join her. When they entered the chamber, Lyra noticed how tired her mother looked. The Queen smiled gently at her daughter, then turned her gaze to the man. "You have done what many believed impossible," the Queen said. "Aurora Prime stands because of human ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. You represent those traits well. And you, my daughter, have grown into the leader I hoped you would become. The marriage decree still stands, but it is no longer a command, it is a choice. I didn't expect power or honor or a place beside you, but we fought together, we trusted each other, and I learned that this world matters to me. Then I choose the same." Humans were no longer seen as just clever or persistent. They were seen as dangerous in the best possible way, because they learned fast and never gave up. The alien fleet did not return. Instead, a single unmanned probe entered the system weeks later. It transmitted a short message before retreating. Observation concluded. Human resistance exceeds projection. Avoid direct conflict. The man worked closely with engineers and strategists, redesigning systems not just to fight, but to adapt faster than any enemy expected. They spent long hours together, not in romance, but in planning, learning, and building trust. That trust became the foundation of everything that followed. The wedding, when it finally happened, was simple. No massive ceremony, no excessive display. Just the Queen, the court, and the people of Aurora Prime watching as two humans stood together, not as ruler and tool, not as command and obedience, but as partners. Queen Saphira spoke softly during the ceremony. "This union is not about power. It is about balance, one who leads and one who adapts. One who dreams and one who acts." The man stood beside her, never seeking glory, never demanding authority, but always present when difficult choices needed to be made. Under their leadership, Aurora Prime became something new. Not an empire built on fear, not a civilization obsessed with dominance, but a human stronghold known across the stars for resilience. When conflicts arose, humans adapted. When threats appeared, humans prepared. When challenges seemed impossible, humans solved them. Other species began to copy human methods, flexible planning, decentralized systems, fast decision-making, but they could not fully replicate what made humans special. Humans cared. They cared about their people. They cared about survival. They cared about the future, and that made them unstoppable. One evening, many years later, Lyra and the man stood once again on the palace balcony. The city below was larger now, brighter, stronger. Ships moved calmly through the sky, no longer patrols born of fear, but guardians of peace. "Do you ever think about how this started?" Lyra asked. He smiled faintly. "With a decree I didn't ask for. And a choice you didn't refuse." Somewhere out there, other civilizations watched and learned. They no longer asked what humans were capable of. They already knew. Humans were the species that refused to surrender, the species that turned weakness into strength, the species that adapted, survived, and rose. And Aurora Prime stood as proof that when humanity was tested, it did not break. It evolved.